At the new University of Ulster at Coleraine in County Londonderry, the second afternoon of the Queen's Jubilee visit, and the luncheon party sitting at the Diamond, the great meeting place of the new university, where the Queen has just finished her speech to the people of Northern Ireland. This is the speech that many people have in fact been waiting for in Northern Ireland, to know just what Her Majesty feels about the troubles and the future of the province. And first of all, the Mayor of Coleraine, Mr. John White.
When as a small boy of 4, at a school party, I received a Jubilee mug commemorating at a 25 years of the reign of His Majesty King George V. I was a very proud and happy child then, and like tens of thousands of other Ulster people today, that pride and happiness are complete. In recent years, we have, albeit from some distance, admired the leadership provided by Your Majesty and Your Royal Highness to your people, and have been proud to be numbered amongst them. We have shared the sense of gaiety and enthusiasm which has marked this Silver Jubilee year. Today, our Queen is with us, and the ancient borough of Coleraine and the newest university in the United Kingdom, with which we have such close and happy relations, join hands to bid you welcome. Simple words, perhaps, but no language could adequately express the joy and depth of emotion which Your Majesty's visit to this province has aroused in the hearts of its people. In Ulster, we are always glad to see our friends and loved ones drop in. You, Ma'am, and you, Sir, have literally dropped in today. I am sure that in the day ahead of you, the people of Ulster will add their voices to mine in expressing a spirit of welcome worthy of traditional Ulster hospitality. May I now, Ma'am, as a lasting and tangible reminder of this visit, present this gift of Tyrone crystal, inscribed with the Jubilee crest, the crest of the new University of Ulster, and the coat of arms of the borough of Coleraine.
Your Majesty, Your Royal Highness, Secretary of State, Mr. Mayor, my lords, ladies and gentlemen. On the 28th of June, 1613, your noble ancestor, King James I, granted a charter to the founders of this town of Coleraine. They were charged in that charter to build a town and to people it. They were also granted permission to practice their arts, mysteries, and manual occupations within the liberties of the town, an area which extended up to 3 miles from its centre. A new impetus was added to the original charter when, on the 1st of September 1971, it pleased Your Majesty to grant to us the charter of this new University of Ulster. Since then, following the example of our predecessors, we have built, in our case, the university. We have peopled it with students and staff. And on this site, so generously donated to us by our neighbours, within the original liberties of a town, we have practiced the arts, mysteries, and manual occupations peculiar to a university. Your Majesty, No honour or privilege which has come to me as Chancellor of a university gives me more pleasure than that of welcoming you into our midst. We have noted with admiration your gracious progress through your realm and the tokens of affection and esteem which have greeted you from every side. You may be assured that in no corner of these islands could you expect a more genuine welcome than you will find here. I am glad to report that in spite of the many difficulties facing the community in which we live, normality has been the order of the day within the university. Students have come to us from all quarters of the globe, from Tunbridge to Toronto, from Cork to Cairo, from Larne to Lagos. This, the most recently established university in your kingdom, has indeed prospered. Your Majesty, your gracious presence here today is an honor to all whose vision, efforts, and faith have confirmed, contributed, and are contributing to the implementation of your royal charter. We bid you welcome, and when the day draws to a close, may I say, in the homely Ulster vernacular, safe home, with the hope that you will again visit us, honor us with a visit in the not too distant future. Ladies and gentlemen, the Queen.
Queen. The Chancellor of the new University of Ulster, the Duke of Abercorn, gives the toast to the Queen. And now, the Queen's reply, a speech directly to the people of Northern Ireland.
This is the last day of my Jubilee visits around the United Kingdom, and I am glad that it should be spent amongst the people of Northern Ireland who have suffered and courageously borne so much. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Chancellor, I am grateful to you both for your friendly welcome, for your hospitality, and for this opportunity to speak to all the people of this province. I am pleased to be able to do this from the University of Coleraine, because it is here that young people come together to prepare themselves to play a full part in the future of this country. How different this is from the image so many people have of what life is like here. They think only of separate and beleaguered communities living in fear and without hope. The atmosphere in this hall today shows just how wrong this image is. It is 11 years since we were last here. During much of that time, we have watched events with deep concern and sadness. No one could remain unmoved by the violence and the grief that follows it. But we have also watched with admiration the fortitude and resilience with which the challenge has been met. The sufferings here have evoked sympathy and concern throughout the world. and nowhere more than in the rest of the United Kingdom. To see such conflict taking place within our country emphasizes the clear and continuing responsibility for us all to bring back peace and stability to this community. During these last 2 days, I have met men and women from all walks of life, including many who have been directly affected by the violence. I have been encouraged by talking to widows who, despite their personal loss, look forward without bitterness to the time when peace will return. There are hopeful signs of reconciliation and understanding. Policemen and soldiers have told me of the real cooperation they are receiving. I have sensed a common bond and a shared hope for the future. People everywhere recognize that violence is senseless and wrong, and that they do not want it. Their clear message is that it must stop. And that is my prayer too. In this improving atmosphere, those with different beliefs and aspirations understand that if this community is to survive and prosper, they must live and work together in friendship and forgiveness. There is no place here for old fears and attitudes born of history. No place for blame for what is past. It is to the future that we must look, for that is the most important concern for us and for our children. And I believe we can look to it with hope. Every visitor here is surprised that normal life goes on. As word of this spreads abroad, investors, industrialists, and tourists will realize that this beautiful country and its diligent people have much to offer. The aim of all, government and people, must be to turn into reality our hopes for a peaceful and stable future and a better life for all. I believe the opportunity is there to be grasped. I look forward to the day when we may return to enjoy with the people of Northern Ireland some of the better and happier times, so long awaited and so richly deserved.
The Queen's speech after lunch today at the new University of Ulster at Coleraine. All that happened a little while ago. The Queen sitting under the arms of the university, and in the lunchroom now, all have departed. The guests have gone, but the Queen's words remain in their minds. Derek Murray, how do you think that speech would go down in Northern Ireland?
Well, politically, Alistair, I think it was a speech for the middle ground, but like the whole visit itself, it did seem to underscore the union. Yet the Queen was telling the people of Northern Ireland quite straight there was no future in extremism, either Republican or Unionist extremism, no room at all for violence.
Derek, just as the Queen was speaking, the helicopter landed, another one coming from the royal yacht, and we believe that this is Prince Andrew and Prince Edward, who have arrived for the Youth Festival. That's happening at the new university this afternoon. They've been on the royal yacht with their parents. Helicopter just landed, and here's a car bringing them onto the campus of the university. So it's quite a busy day at Coleraine. Prince Andrew was in the news this morning because he spent some time yesterday evening on the Britannia at the reception, talking to the ladies of the peace movement in Northern Ireland, and they were impressed with him, they said. They reported when they came off, and he was plainly impressed with them. And He has come, and so has the young Prince Edward. This is a thought that because it's been such a restricted visit, because of all the security arrangements, and every step that the Queen takes is under some threat. There's Prince Edward and Prince Andrew on the left, coming right up to the campus, to the steps of the university. This was a thought that it would be very pleasant if the young princes could appear here at the Youth Festival, a gesture to the people of Northern Ireland. Prince Andrew, everybody talks about his striking good looks, and here he is. And I may have been wrong about Prince Edward, because I don't see him coming up the steps now. We thought that both of them were coming. But certainly Prince Andrew has arrived. Everybody knows him because of his school in Canada, making a great hit there. A wave to the crowd as to the manor ball. And he comes up the line, and he will be going into the main building of the university. Well, I would have thought with Prince Andrew about, he wouldn't be content just to stay on the royal yacht for very long. And there is a small crowd there still, and he naturally gravitates towards them and has a word. Did you hear my mother's speech, you say? Anyhow, in he goes. Well, Derek, there we are. Prince Andrew is ashore, not Prince Edward as well. But let's go back to what the Queen said today. You saying she was holding to the middle ground. Did you expect anything more?
Yes, that and underscoring the union, and I think all that was to be expected. I thought the key word probably, Alistair, of the speech was the word hope. She used it a number of times. She said the image here was of separate and beleaguered communities living in fear and without hope. And then she said there are hopeful signs of reconciliation. And again, she said that the aim of government and people was to turn into reality our hopes for a peaceful and stable future. And she took up the trade union slogan here of the Better Life for All campaign. She used those very words.
Now, how do you think a phrase like "there's no place here for old fears and attitudes born of history, no place for blame for what is past"? Does that really make sense?
Well, that's the sort of phrase that's very difficult to get into hardened hearts in the Irish situation. It's probably leading us on to one of the deep difficulties in Ulster is the creation of trust between two peoples of differing traditions.
It had been put about, obviously very ill-informed in some papers, including papers in Dublin, that there was going to be an initiative today from the Queen. Now, that plainly hasn't come out of her remarks.
Well, I don't think when you try to translate what Her Majesty had to say into hard political terms, it is difficult to see how the government, the British government, is in any sense ready for a particular initiative. From time to time we are told to expect that something might be done, because after all we're going into the 9th year of the Troubles in Northern Ireland, but it's difficult to see. It's a very glib thing, something should be done, but what exactly should be done? That's the problem, and that's the difficulty in which the British government finds itself.
I think to many people outside Northern Ireland, Derek, it's what the Queen is really saying, as you were saying, the message of hope, but that things are getting a bit better. And this has been, in a way, a major propaganda battle. The Queen has said this at the new university in her remarks to the people of Northern Ireland. Things are getting better. There is a hope. At the same time, just before the Queen landed this morning, the Provisional IRA put out their statement saying that there's a bomb in the grounds. Now, are things getting better? Is that the impression? Many people say that that's so when they come to Belfast now compared with 2 years ago.
Well, of course, it is a propaganda war as well as being, in some sense, an actual war. But if you take the government figures, and of course the Republican sources would say that these are government propaganda, the government figures, the security force figures, do show that in recent months and weeks there has been a significant running down of the level of violence. The security forces have been finding arms, they've been thick in the ground, they've been picking up people, not just picking them up because that hastens on images of internment of the old days, picking up people and putting them away without charge, but they have been charging people, and they've been charging a lot of people with very serious crimes, including murder and attempted murder.
The other point that I think people will be interested in is that the accusation is made that the people who are coming to these garden parties are just simply the safe people, the people who belong to the establishment in Northern Ireland. There's the Queen's Land Rover going on. There hasn't been a very big turnout from members, say, of the Social Democratic and Labour Party. Indeed, some of the politicians have made their excuses one way or the other.
Of course,
Does
they
that
are also regarded, you mentioned the Social Democratic and Labour Party, they are also regarded as, by government, as the safe people. After all, they do have a member of Parliament, one of the 12 Ulster MPs sitting at Westminster. They chose not to attend any of these functions, and certainly it is true to say that at both these receptions it has been a turnout of chosen folk from Ulster society. But I think it is also fair to say that a real effort was made to try and identify the two communities in Northern Ireland closely with the Queen, and I think the Peace People was an example of that, because the peace movement started within what you've come to know as the Catholic ghettos of Northern Ireland.
Now, the peace movement, in fact, they're just celebrating their first anniversary. And I noticed today that they were people who were prepared to go on the royal yacht to meet the Queen, to come out and say, frankly, what they thought about it. Some people have been much more reticent who went on the royal yacht. The accusation again is made about them that the peace movement may not be making the headway that it was. Do you think that a year on in their history, things are getting better?
It's very difficult to demonstrate this word peace, Alistair. In days gone by, at the beginning of the peace movement, the emphasis was on marching, and that's a very visible thing. It's a very tangible thing. It's something that pictures can be sent all over the world, visualizing the whole business of peace. Now that has been transformed apparently into quieter action with, in some cases, some industrial aid for businesses where there is high unemployment. After all, 13% of the population here are without jobs, and the peace people seem to have transferred their efforts into that area, which is a very practical area.
And so here we are, Derek, outside the new university, which looks like some other new universities. It's that kind of architecture. And we're talking about an event, the visit of the Queen here, with all these very difficult surroundings, the threats and the hopes, the expressions of loyalty when they can break through, the absences being noted when you can see that some people have not turned up. And at the garden party this afternoon, it'll be another chance for the Queen to meet people and to talk to people. But all the time one has the sensation that she's been under test. Well, when the Queen arrived this morning, it was to just the same very beautiful day. The weather turned on extremely well. So let's have a look at the start of the visit this morning. Derek.
Presumably, Alistair, Her Majesty had just been told before she left Britannia of the Provisional IRA threat that they had breached security. Because when the doors of the helicopter did open and she stepped down, graciously, as she did yesterday, because that is a difficult exercise, nevertheless, Her Majesty, there she is, dressed in blue, did look somewhat strained. Something perhaps of a reaction both to the threat and to the helicopter trip itself. And she doesn't particularly like helicopter trips, as we saw yesterday. The formalities there on the helipad, and then into the Land Rover, because she has a short journey to make from the helipad to the actual front entrance of the university. Here's another first coming up on a royal tour, another posy of flowers handed into a moving royal vehicle. But still the welcomes there, the numbers are small in comparison to what the Queen has seen in other parts of the kingdom throughout her Jubilee tour. Nevertheless, the warmth of the welcome is there. The Duke, inquisitive as always, looking around, looking through the trees. And again, after more formalities at the entrance to the university, the Queen heads straight for the children. And more flowers. And flags.
Yeah, she's got quite a collection there. I remember that this morning. And she's enjoying it. This is the kind of walkabout that she instinctively likes.
Yes, she's now beginning, I think, to relax. The memory of the trip and perhaps of the hoax diminished in her mind. And it's all action from here on in, because she's now on the main staircase of the university, heading up towards the library, one of the best equipped university libraries of any in the kingdom, even though this is the newest in the kingdom.
And now that was the Queen this morning, outside the university building after her speech. The Queen is walking away. She's going to visit a youth festival in the grounds, and then, of course, later this afternoon there's the garden party. And with her now, just following behind her, we saw him a moment ago, and he'll come forward again, I'm sure, in a minute, Prince Andrew, the latest addition to the royal party in Northern Ireland. The Queen looks very much at her ease now, as anybody would, having had a speech off their chest. And now she's looking forward to meeting the children. And she's looking up at the crowd, looking at the cameras, walking along. This is the way she came in this morning, setting out now across this vast campus of the university. And the whole visit going on as normal. It could be, at this moment, just a visit to any other new university in the United Kingdom. Same approach, the academic gowns in attendance, the same spectators to applaud, and it's happening in Northern Ireland. The Duke of Abercorn, the Chancellor, also spoke today. He's now in charge in his Chancellor's robes, making the introductions, and the faithful Land Rover waiting at the bottom of the steps for the next visit. Saying farewell. I think it went off very well, perhaps, he's saying. And the Queen walks down the steps with the Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Andrew saying goodbye, the Duke of Abercorn too, and we're off for the next stage.
It's about a mile in the Land Rover now, Alistair, to the Festival of Youth, where some 2,000 children from all over the province are gathered to put on something of a lively display, I understand, for the Queen and the Duke, and indeed Prince Andrew.
It's very interesting how I think Prince Andrew takes after his father in the easy way that he has. He waves by instinct. Well, we'll be back later on this afternoon with the garden party, when the Queen will be walking and talking to the people of Northern Ireland. That has been her speech. No doubt there'll be a lot of summaries and comments and political reaction to it. But all is normal, and the crowds are waiting to see the Queen a little later on. We'll be back.